Sitting on the park bench, eyeing little girls with bad intensity. Hey, Aquila, drying in the cold sun, watching as the pretty Peggy.
The last game I reviewed was Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! That game kicked so much ass it should be declared illegal. Now I'm going to pull a little transition and show how the same 8-bit NES system could produce one boxing game that's incredibly awesome and another boxing game that, well, isn't quite so awesome. The name of this game is World Champ. It plays very similar to that of Ring King, a game infamous for the midgets blowing the 70s porn star lookalike boxers between rounds. In this game, though, you can actually throw punches when you're facing your opponent on the diagonal, rather than just horizontally and vertically, giving it at least a somewhat 3D experience. But there are loads of flaws abound in this slugfest. First off is the bad Japanese to English translation at the title screen. World Champ, Super Boxing Great Fight. Now that definitely ranks in the so bad it's good category. There are 3 game modes: the 1-player ranking system, a 2-player exhibition match, or 3 to 8 human players could compete in an 8-man tournament. The rest of the open spots are taken up by the computer. You input your name at the beginning, and it's one of those menus where you have to scroll through each letter individually rather than using a cursor where all that black empty space is. If you got 8 players and you want to do a tournament, this will take so long that by the time you're done, you don't want to play anymore. After inputting your name, the game will automatically give you a character design based on the first letter of your name. There are about 4 different boxers, but why can't you pick which one you want to play as? Let's see which one I get here. I hope it's not the pale guy with bright red hair. Well, it looks like I'm gonna be a Mexican for today. But when I'm fighting, my hair is red. What the fuck? Anyway, in the ranking mode, you can either train or fight one of 5 boxers in your weight class. There are 4 weight divisions and 5 boxers each, so you gotta go through 20 guys. But not necessarily, because you can skip right over the first 4 if you really want to. You will get your ass kicked if you try this right away, but you don't always need to go through everybody. The objective of training is to build up your attributes: speed, stamina, defense, and power. You pick whichever one you want to build up, and you get a sparring belt with the same guy at the bottom of the division you're in this case, the feared Mighty Lee. Training is exactly the same as the actual fight, only the background is different. If you win, you get 2 points added to whichever attribute you're going for. So you have to go through 4 matches just to get all 4 up. If you win a real match, you'll get all 4 bumped up 2 points. So I say just start at the bottom, beat the shit out of them, and work your way up. If you happen to lose, you can get the option to go back and fight from the beginning of the division again and build up more points. It's much easier and less time consuming than training. And it's not like wins and losses mean anything either. There's no game over, and when you input the password to continue, your win-loss record starts at 0 anyway. Only your attributes are saved along with whatever weight division you're in. You can actually change your name and character design at the same time too. Speaking of characters, the characters in this game are pretty ridiculous. Dancing Ty, Silk Sam, Jumbo Joe, Tiny Tim. Aside from the goofy names and the fact that some of them are named after ukulele players that need to take their singing voice down a few octaves, these characters are also boring and monotonous. Everybody's exactly the same with different heads and different colors. None of them fight any differently either. It's really like you're fighting the same opponent over and over again with a slightly tougher challenge each time. The final fighter in the game is Hardhead. Real intimidating. One interesting feature are the 2 meters up top. Instead of just having an ordinary energy bar, you have a stamina meter and a momentum meter. The stamina meter decreases whenever you get hit, and it decreases in smaller increments when you throw punches yourself. The higher your stamina attribute, the slower it decreases. If you're completely out of stamina when you get knocked down, you're not getting back up. The momentum meter will fill up as you connect consecutive punches. When it reaches the end, you'll be in position to knock your opponent down. But the meter will decrease if you get punched or if you stand there without connecting any punches. This adds a bit of strategy and depth to the game instead of just button mashing the whole time. Unfortunately, you still find yourself mashing the buttons most of the time anyway. Between rounds you get a certain amount of points based on how high your attributes are to select how much power you want to put into each specific punch. But you can't choose which punch to throw. You press the A button and you'll just go completely around the horn throwing all 4 punches in a random cycle. And you press B to dodge or duck whenever you're being attacked. The graphics are up to par, and the crowd is not only active, but it fills up the empty spaces that would have been there. Also, it's funny how when you fight lower ranked fighters, there's hardly anyone in the audience and a bunch of empty seats. But as you climb the ranks, they start to fill up. The music is kinda cool and the sound effects are adequate, but the sound quality of the referee's voice is absolutely atrocious. And you have to put up with this shit at every knockdown, at the beginning of the round, and at the end of the fight. Look, they have the text pop up. Why not just do the same for the 10 count and just mute the motherfucker? That works. And when you get knocked down, you don't have to push any buttons to get back on your feet. If you have enough stamina to get up, you'll just get up automatically. One thing that bothers me is that after every fight, the loser will get on one knee and cry like a little bitch. Boxers are supposed to be tough guys that grew up fighting all their lives in the streets. Who gets this emotional over every single fight? If you happen to play through the whole game and beat this hardhead fellow, you get a congratulatory speech about how you dominated the boxing world and how no one has ever done anything like this before, etc., etc. Not a fancy ending, but at least it's something. The game isn't exactly horrible, but it has a tendency to get boring. I think the lack of distinct characters and the constant button mashing hurts the game's ability to hold your interest. After a little while, you're just like, okay, I've had enough of this. The multiplayer fights can be fun, but really only for a once in a great while stint before you pop in a better game. Like I said in the Punch-Out review, an attempt at a boxing simulation would be pretty outdated today, and that pretty much sums up World Champ. It was a pretty good time killer back in the day, but nowadays it won't kill that much of your time. So that pretty much wraps up this edition of Aqualung's Game Reviews. See you next time.